Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for a episode of our preview series in which we look ahead to the next Arsenal fixture, look at the lineups of what I think we should go for, what Arteta most likely will go for, and of course get your thoughts in the live chat too. So let's jump straight into it. So yes, hello, welcome, and we are ahead of what is a interesting fixture against the Leicester side, which are indifferent is probably the right word to use in terms of how they've been this season. They have, of course, been ravaged by, the amount of injuries that they've had to deal with this season has been absolutely incredible. And looking at the actual results they've had this season, of course, playing in the Europa League, they beat Zorya, who, if you may remember, we played them a couple of seasons ago in our Europa League group stage. They beat them 3-0 very comfortably without the likes of Jamie Vardy, etc. They lost at home to Aston Villa, and that was preceded by another home loss to West Ham. They have not won in the league since their 5-2 win against Manchester City, which was incredible if you think about it. And of course, we have played them already this season, the weakened side, of course, on both sides. More so Leicester, though, in the EFL Cup, where we beat them 2-0 at the King Power Stadium. They started off the season quite well, though, obviously beating West Brom 3-0. They beat Burnley 4-2. They've had other good results in pre-season, but other than that, it's been an indifferent start to a side that are looking to build upon their strong sort of finish last season. They ended the season quite poorly, but in the end, it was still a good league result for them getting that European qualification. But they will want to be pushing ahead to get that Champions League football. And Arsenal at the moment are in themselves slightly strange as a team to look at if you're looking from a neutral perspective. They've beaten the teams they should beat, Sheffield United, they've beaten West Ham, they've beaten Fulham, but they've lost to Liverpool and Manchester City away from home, which are probably games, again, you would expect Arsenal to lose those fixtures if you were looking at it on paper. However, the manner in which some of the games have gone down, West Ham and the West Ham game in particular and the Sheffield United game were victories that were slightly different. West Ham were arguably slightly better than Arsenal in that game, and somehow the Gunners made to come out with a win in that. But then against Sheffield United in the first half, not that great. Switched to a back four, switched to Pepe coming in, who had a really, really good second half against Sheffield United. And then we obviously conceded late, which made the result seem a little bit closer than it actually was in reality. And then the games against City and Liverpool, we weren't in those in terms of the real chance to sort of win them, but we were competitive to the point where we could have taken a point in either one of those games had we have taken the big chances. And the biggest thing for Arsenal at the moment is kind of looking at the players that are not taking the chances for the sides. Your Aubameyangs has missed some really big chances for us so far this season, especially since he signed that new contract. And then you look at Lacazette and Nketiah, who also have failed to get some really big chances for them over the line. Lacazette has scored a fair few this season, scored against Fulham, scored against West Ham, scored against Liverpool, and it's a weird one for him because a lot of people would still rather see Aubameyang start through the middle, even though in the league anyway, Lacazette has more goals than the Gabonese forward. So it's a real weird dynamic about where we go in terms of the lineup. Let's get your thoughts on obviously a fixture which is a little bit strange, but we'll get your thoughts and your lineups and stuff. Let's get buongiorno, Vinny. Thank you ever so much for tuning in, mate. Hello, Nico. Hello, Joe. Thanks for doing this whilst El Clasico is on, says Omar. I'm sorry, mate. I'm a busy guy. I haven't even been able to get around to watch any of El Clasico. Apologies about that. No, Chris, I'm not even going to highlight your comment because I'm going to try and avoid talking about it. Christopher Fung says lots of injuries for Leicester, but can't take them lightly. Look at City last weekend. Exactly. How many are injured for Leicester? Well, let's have a look at Leicester's team news. If we just have a quick Google, it should be able to come up for us. So, Jamie Vardy injury latest ahead of the Arsenal game, thanks to Leicestershire Live. We go and have a look, a little of a scroll down. I'm not seeing anything immediately. The classic thing of making you read the entire article to try and find out. Here we go. Roger's thinking Vardy will be available. Jamie Vardy is expected to be fit for the game against Arsenal. Classic Arsenal luck there. He said he's responded really well to treatment and he's been out on the grass, so we just need to see how he is. He'll join in training and we'll assess it over the next couple of days. So I think we can expect Jamie Vardy to be back for the game against Arsenal. So Yeah, it's just... I hate Jamie Vardy with a passion against us. I quite like watching him for England, but when he was playing for England. But for against us, he just always seems to score against us. Defensively, they are without Chanyar, however you want to pronounce it, Soyuncu, the Turkish centre-back. They're going to be without him. He's going to be out of action for a few months. Ricardo Pereira is, of course, still out. And on their left-hand side, they've got the likes of Justin and Castagna playing in full-back positions. Centre-back, though, it's a bit strange because you're likely going to see Wesley Fofana and Johnny Evans together. James Maddison has returned. He played in their game in midweek on the right-hand side of a midfield four, which is a bit strange. Iheanacho starting up front, but Jamie Vardy we can expect to come back in. Tielemans, of course, still fit. Dennis Praet, I'm unsure of the other Belgians' fitness coming into the game. And we've actually seen Ndidi out as well for quite a while too. So... there are injury issues for Leicester. We know that. Whether that will have a big bearing on the game, we're going to have to wait and see. In terms of Arsenal's lineup, this is the bit of the show in which we look at what I think we could be lining up for. If we have a look at my lineup initially, we'll get it up on the screen for you just now. So there's the lineup. I mean, Leno in goal is just the norm these days, isn't it? I mean, he's playing in both the Europa League games. He's playing in the League Cup games. Runnison doesn't really seem like he's getting too much of an opportunity to play, which is a bit strange because you've signed a backup keeper and you think that you're going to give him some opportunities. We've not done that for whatever reason. We've not decided to give him those opportunities. Am I going to complain about it? No, because the more minutes that Leno plays, the more time that he gets on the pitch, I'm absolutely fine with that. Yes, we love to see the new toy play, if you like. But for me, Leno starts and has been receiving a hell of a lot of criticism, more than maybe he deserves, in my view. As you can see, I've gone with a back four. I want to see a switch to this back four. That needs to be a priority in my mind. Bellerin, Luiz, Gabriel, Tierney. That is the best back four that we've got with the fitness. The guys that are fit, of course. Mustafi could come in there. I mean, he could replace Luiz, possibly, as a better player in the back four. He's a better player in the back two than Luiz is, so there's always the possibility. And then you've got the long-term option of Saliba maybe coming in next to Gabriel, but I assume we won't be seeing that for quite a while. And Saliba didn't actually play for the under-23s today. Read that what you will, whether that means he'll be in the lineup or in the squad anyway. Tomorrow we'll have to wait and see. If we have a look at the midfield, Xhaka and Partey, this is the lineup that I'm looking to see us play most of the time in terms of a midfield pivot. Xhaka in combination with Partey. In terms of players for us that are unfit, Danny Ceballos and Willian are facing sort of a fitness test ahead of this game, and I didn't want to risk putting either of those two in the lineup. And so I've gone for Saka playing in behind Lacazette. And because we haven't got Willian, it means obviously Willian couldn't play there. We couldn't move Aubameyang onto that central position because I think that Saka, for me, would be playing on that left-hand side over anyone else. You could argue that Nelson could play. I'd still rather see Lacazette play through the middle and Aubameyang fit in than risking someone else. Because Danny Ceballos and Willian are out, it kind of limits us in that number 10 creative role. And Saka's the only real other option that we may have in that midfield role. And I'm fine with that, but what it does mean is that you're limited to then the front three that you can pick, being Pepe, Lacazette and Aubameyang. So I'd like to see Aubameyang play through the middle a lot more, but with the lineup that we've got right now. I mean, you could go for a very passive midfield of Partey, Xhaka and El Neni. I don't think it's worth doing that. I think we need to be more offensive, especially playing at home. And that's why I want to see this lineup against the Foxes. Let's see then your responses to that. Asmit says, Danny trained on Wednesday. Yes, I know that he trained, but there's still supposedly some fitness things going on. So we're still not 100% sure whether Danny is going to be back for the game. So it's I would like to see him start. If he does start, then for me, then you move Aubameyang into the middle, Lacazette goes to the bench, Xhaka plays wide, Ceballos goes at 10. That's the difference that I would make if Ceballos was fit, but at the moment we just don't quite know. Chris said, if Mainsley doesn't play on Sunday, I'll be concerned. I don't think you should be concerned. However, what I would say is that he plays in my predicted lineup for the weekend, which is, I just have this feeling that Arteta's still going to go with the back three, especially if Danny Ceballos isn't available for us and Willian's not available for us. I think he'll still stick with that back three, which is a shame because I would like to see us really go for the back four as quickly as feasibly possible. But that would mean Bellerin, Partey, Xhaka and Mainsley in a midfield four, which is in front of Tierney, Gabriel and Luiz, with Pepe, Aubameyang and Saka. So I personally think that we've got the option to go with either a back four or a back three. I have a feeling that Arteta might go for a back three, but I personally would rather us go with my own lineup and see us go with the back four. Just is my view on that. Let me know. What would you rather go for in the chat box? Back three or back four? What are we feeling? Chris says, I'm not saying for Bellerin. I think Mainsley should be playing left wing back in a 3-4-3. So Chris would rather see us play in that 3-4-3 formation, being us a little bit more solid. Vinny says, with Partey, we are capable of playing a 4-4-2. We are in terms of a central midfield combination, but in terms of like the wide areas, it's not as nailed on. Pepe and Saka playing on those wings. Could they play in a 4-4-2 with Aubameyang and Lacazette up top, or Aubameyang and Nketiah, or Aubameyang and Pepe playing as a front two with Willian or Nelson playing on the right-hand side? That's also a possibility. Possibly so. Iron Cub says, I would wait with the back four until after the United game. That's fair enough. AK says, go to the back four. Nico says, we need a back four with a 10 to add to our creativity. Richie Hartnett says, yeah, why not just try a back four with Mainsley in the midfield? Also an option. But then you've got to think of Mainsley, Xhaka and Partey. Who's going to be that creative force? There'll be a lot of emphasis on maybe the Ghanaian providing that creativity, which isn't ultimately his main sort of role within the team, if you know what I mean. Corey says, we need more creativity from the wing-backs. Bellerin and Maitland-Niles don't offer enough assists for me. I think that Bellerin can actually offer quite a lot of creativity on the right-hand side. But in terms of Mainsley, on the left-hand side anyway, I would tend to agree with you. He will struggle because he would need to cut back onto his stronger foot, or he would need to risk using a left-footed cross, which just isn't going to be nowhere near as efficient as to what we've seen him use with his right foot. AK says, what is Willian's condition? Well, the thing is with Willian right now, I mean, I can, just to get 100% sure in terms of it, 3 hours ago, we had an Arsenal provided an update on Dani Ceballos. So have Arsenal actually done it on the website? Let's check the website first of all. Team news on Ceballos, Willian and Pablo Mari. Let's throw that up on the screen so you guys can see it as well. Let me just throw that up. Here we go. Share the screen. There we are. So let's see what they're saying. Dani Ceballos, left ankle, slight bruising, now back in full training and available for selection. So there you go. Ignore everything I said. Because according to that, he is completely available. I mean, I'd heard a whisper that it wasn't as nailed on, but if we're going by the website and he's available for selection, then 100% go with Saka on the left-hand side and move Ceballos into that number 10 position. Rob Holding is still going to be out for approximately 3 weeks, according to this, and Willian is being assessed ahead of Sunday. I had heard nothing else in regards to what's different on the website. The only one that I'd heard anything different to was Ceballos, and it wasn't as nailed on as it's being there. So it's if Ceballos is fit, great. Put him in the lineup. Please play him in that number 10 role. Please put Saka on that left-hand side and play with the back four. But it just needs to be, as I was about to say those words, Chris, you've taken them right out of my mouth. Whatever formation gets us going offensively while keeping us resolute defensively is the formation I'm choosing. And the thing is, you need to make sure that we've got that defensive guile about ourselves, that we can still deal with the pace that will come from those wide areas against Leicester. We know that the likes of Madison will be getting running up against us. Vardy will be running in behind us. Harvey Barnes will be having an absolute field day if he's able to get in behind. He's had an absolute brilliant season already so far. So they are threatening. They are a threat to us. And I'm just hoping, fingers crossed, that we can keep them at bay. Matt Gray says, when is Martinelli back? Well, according to this, I'm assuming when I scroll down, it's going to say towards the end of the calendar year. If we do, left knee, aiming to return to full training by the end of the calendar year. So there you go. Pablo Mari is aiming to return to full training within the next 10 days. That was the same as what we saw against Rapid Vienna, so that's not changed. Gabriel, we've already talked about that. Pablo Mari, we talked about that. And Callum Chambers is now back in full training, progressing well towards full match fitness. So there's even the possibility that we could see a combination maybe of Callum Chambers and Gabriel in a back four. That's also an opportunity. So we've got plenty of options in the back line for sure. So it'd be really, really interesting to see how that changes when the likes of Mustafi, Marie, Chambers, etc. come back fit. What combinations will play in different games. I think that Gabriel is going to need a rest eventually, and I'm hoping that Pablo Mari can obviously be that guy. So let's finally end off the show with our match predictions. Let's see what you guys are saying Today, in terms of the Leicester match, you're going with an Arsenal win at home to the Foxes, or do you think it's going to be a little bit closer? Let's get those thoughts. For me personally, I'm going to be positive. I'm going to go with a 3-1 win to the Arsenal. Aubameyang's going to get a couple of goals and finally get some points on my fantasy team. And then, who's going to get a third one? Should we go with a Partey? I suppose we should do it really as kind of a... We used to do... I mean, long-time listeners will know about this, but we used to have a funny prediction score of Coquelin, our 1-0 win with a Coquelin screamer, which just had never happened. It never happened the entire time he was there. So maybe we should go with a cheeky Partey screamer as a TGT prediction from now on. Omar says 2-1 win to the Arsenal. Iron Cub says 3-1 win. Joe's going with a 1-1. Chris says 2-1. Dave Atkinson says 3-1. Igbo says 2-0. Ed says 3-1 to the Arsenal. Charlie Noel says 2-1 to the Arsenal. AK is going for 2-0 to the Arsenal. MIL Reaction says 1-0 to the Arsenal. Senki's going 1-0. John G says 3-1 with a Ceballos masterclass. Iron Cub reckons Aubameyang and Pepe are going to score in a 3-1 win. O'Malley, 2-0 to the Arsenal. Corey, 4-1. Vinny Eagle says 3-1 and Aubameyang to get 2. Richie Hartness says Arsenal 3-0 win and Pepe and Saka to score. So, plenty of you are thinking in positive ways, which is great to see. A massive thank you to our expert members. Thank you to all of you for being massive supporters. We're getting to the point now where we're nearly reaching 100 members, which is absolutely crazy. I'm looking forward to providing you some exclusive content over the next couple of days. Our Plus members interview will be out with one of the regular podcasters, and also you'll then, before the end of the month, fingers crossed, be able to get your expert member exclusive piece of content with one of our experts. We've had plenty of people on the show in the past, journalists, YouTubers, ex-professionals, the likes of Alan Smith, Kevin Campbell, etc., who have given their thoughts to our expert members, and they've loved the content that's been available to them. And I hope you continue to enjoy it. TGT ambassadors, thank you ever so much. The Real Janice, Alex, Gary, Brian, Victor, who is a new TGT ambassador. Welcome to the crew, mate. Carl, Owen, Aaron, Jared, 3 points, Rohit, Ed, Matt, and Jimmy. Thank you ever so much, guys, for the continued support. And of course, you can check out, if you become an expert member or higher, the Discord server, which is always popping off. And actually, the other day, we created an entire new channel on the, not YouTube channel, but a channel in terms of a chat on our Discord server, which is now called the TGT Scouting Network, where all of the expert members are going to be throwing in the different youngsters that are going to be surrounding Arsenal maybe in the future. But basically, it's just basically an area where you could be looking at for players that could be joining the club in the near future, or just to look out for in general. I mean, Dominic Joboslai obviously dominated the early part of the chat. For some reason, it's like he's good or something. But other than that, it's always a real pleasure to chat to you guys. There's always a game time chat going on throughout that as well. So during the match, everyone in the Discord server is having a chat about things, giving their thoughts on it. And then they jump on the chat box afterwards for the Raw Reaction show. So it's a great community. And yeah, so expert members in general, please be throwing... Of course, as always, at the end of our show, there's only one emoji that we like to use as we end the show. So thank you so much for tuning in, people. I'll be back very, very soon, straight after the game tomorrow for the Raw Reactions. And of course, it has been a pleasure to speak to you, as it always has and always will be. But most importantly, as always, up the Arsenal.